Hi, my name is Angie, and I am the founder of a grassroots movement simply known as the GRM. I'm here really because I'm shocked that no one was able to give me the option for this particular education 13 years ago. I'm sorry that I struggled terribly with my health for 15 years before that, which was completely unnecessary. I thought everything I was doing were all the right things to be doing. My husband Larry is an educator, and what he learned when he delved into study and research surprised and even shocked him that we have changed the entire course of our lives to bring exposure to this education to others. Since 2004, we've been providing educational classes in communities all over North America, Europe, and beyond. In the next few minutes, you will see why we are compelled to get this education out for you and for those you love. You will learn why it's not popular to get it to the masses and why, in fact, there may be great interest in keeping it from us. I'll have Larry share 3 small clips from our most popular class entitled A Wellness Journey. You will get a sampling from each of the 3 areas of concern that we cover in detail in that class. The first, altered food, how the very foundation of our food has been altered. The second, supplementation, as it has to do with what's truly natural that's utilized by our bodies versus what's either just a waste of money or could actually be harming us. And the third, what's glycosylation and why does it matter? As it has to do with a little known field of science called glycobiology, the study of sugar. After each one of these little clips, Larry will follow up with you with additional information. So get your paper and pens ready and let's get started.
Good food goes bad in time. Bad food stays bad. And you may have noticed that our flour today doesn't go bad and can sit on store shelves for quite a long time. That's because we strip the bran and the germ from the kernel and we just use the endosperm when we grind our flour. When you do that, you've removed 20 nutrients from your food. We feel bad when we do that, so we add 5 of those back synthetically. 20 out, 5 back in, probably not a really good deal. The picture in the middle shows how we fortify with iron. We take our cereals and we add iron to them. There are demonstrations on YouTube where you can see folks who will take flakes of cereal, they'll put it in this bowl of water and they'll pass a magnet and they'll actually drag the flake around anywhere they want in the bowl. That's how much magnetic iron there is in it. They also, you'll see the blender on the far right, they will take cereal, for example baby rice cereal, and they'll put it in the blender, add water, mix it up, and then pour that mixture into a bag, a Ziploc bag, tie that off and pass a magnet across it, and they will actually gather all of the metal shavings in the corner of the bag. And you'll see the magnet has gathered these iron shavings that look like whiskers on that food particle. That's what's in your food. When I first saw that, I thought, this has got to be illegal. How can people get away adding metal into your food? How much of that metal do you think actually gets digested in your digestive tract? Not very much.
In addition to this clip on how our food has been altered by fortification with synthetic vitamins and inorganic minerals, we also cover in our class what hybridization is and how this natural process has so genetically altered the gluten in our modern wheat that it is causing problems in terms of gut and brain health. We also have a segment on what GMO is and how genetically modified organisms are definitely not a natural process. I discuss what the ramifications are because these genetically engineered foods currently dominate the aisles of our grocery stores. Now let me share with you another clip from the class which demonstrates that there's nothing natural about synthetic vitamins.
I've got some listed here. We've built a consumer awareness guide that has more of these details, but I'll hit vitamin A here at the top. It's also known as retinol. If it's living or natural, it will say it comes from something living or natural. Fish oils, liver, vegetables, something organic. If it's synthetic, there will be no source, no parentheses given. It'll just say retinol or vitamin A. If it has acetate or palmitate along with the name, then for sure it's synthetic. Vitamin C, we've already mentioned where it comes naturally versus synthetic. One note on vitamin C, though, at the bottom, ascorbic acid is not vitamin C. Ascorbic acid is just 5% of the molecule. It's 5% of the vitamin C complex. It's the outer antioxidant wrapper that protects the other 95% of the vitamin. You're missing rutin, bioflavonoids, factor K, factor J, factor P, tyrosinase, ascorbinogen. There are several components that go into vitamin C. I call it fake vitamin C when I see it as ascorbic acid, and 90% of that fake vitamin C is actually produced by a drug manufacturer, and they use a process involving cornstarch and sulfuric acid. Now, all the other companies, pharmaceutical companies and other companies who bring this to market, they purchase it from this source, and they just rebrand it into their particular vitamin C. But it all comes from there. Now, an interesting thing with scurvy, when the discoverer of this vitamin C complex looked at it, he identified what it was that cured scurvy if you had it, and what prevented you from getting it in the first place. But he also did some testing with ascorbic acid, and what he found was while vitamin C complex cures and prevents scurvy, ascorbic acid does not. It's just an antioxidant. It's not the whole vitamin. It's just 5%. So when people purchase this, though, their thinking is when they see vitamin C, they think they're getting the same thing that you get from eating an orange. And you're not. It's much different than the natural form.
When you see this class in its entirety, you will also learn about the studies published in the New England Journal of Medicine that demonstrate the danger of consuming synthetic vitamins. I also discuss inorganic minerals and how eating rocks and salts do not do a body good. Women will be especially appalled to hear about government-published findings showing that inorganic calcium supplements do nothing to prevent bone fractures and actually cause harm. Now let me share with you the final clip which explains how a little-known field of science called glycobiology, the science that studies sugar, helps us to understand the critical nature of particular sugars which surround every cell in the human body and in fact every living cell on planet Earth. Let's watch this clip now.
The National Academy of Science is a governmental body that's made up of folks who are Nobel Prize winners or you've been nominated by a Nobel Prize winner. It's our top elite scientific community in Washington, D.C. They came out with a 200-page publication called Transforming Glycoscience. And in that publication in October 2012, they suggested that they want to take this science and they want to take it from the corner where it's been studied in a niche science called glycobiology. They want to make it mainstream. They want to push it down through the colleges and the junior colleges and into the high schools. They need career paths. They need the kids to be excited. They need folks to be into this field so that we can develop the instrumentation, a knowledge base of how these sugars work, because it turns out that these sugars represent the frontier of medicine. Now, I've taken 4 quotes from that 200-page publication. The first one at the top states that every living cell on planet Earth is covered with a dense and complex array of glycans, or these sugars. So there's a shroud of sugars covering every cell, not only all human, but all animal and all plant. Every living organic cell has these sugars, and they're the operating system for the cell. And the second bullet, they stated every disease that affects humans significantly involves these glycans, or these sugars. They play a part in all of the diseases that are being manifest. And so this is why it is the frontier of medicine. We need to understand what the biomarkers are for these disease states. In addition to every major disease, they're involved in almost every biological process that goes on in your body. So all of those chemical reactions that are going on, most of them involve these sugars. The last bullet down here, I have a picture that goes along with it, and you see these tree structures that represent the sugar organized on these cells with a cell antenna system that looks like trees. They're bush-shaped. They're complicated structures. If I were to eliminate any of those, just part of those class of sugars, the cell will die because it can no longer identify itself. It can't tell the body that's nutrient needs. And so these sugars are the operating system. I can actually go in and take the nucleus out of the cell, denucleate it, and the cell will continue to live for months. It can't reproduce because I've taken its DNA away, but the cell will live. If we disrupt any of these sugar structures on the cell, on the outer surface of that cell, the cell will die immediately because it cannot communicate.
Along with what you just saw of the glycobiology portion of the class, you will see that the difference between type A and type B blood is only one molecule of sugar. Only one molecule of sugar differentiates the two blood types. But we all know it can cause a life or death situation if we're transfused the wrong blood type. The body pays attention to these individual sugars. In addition, virtually all autoimmune and degenerative diseases involve missing sugars on the cells. The immune system needs to be able to communicate properly. When cells communicate properly, the immune system functions properly. Now let me have Angie wrap it up.
You can see why I was so compelled to do something. I remember standing at my husband's office in 2004 and I asked him, why don't we know anything about these things? You'd think if this was such significant information, then at least one of my 6 doctors or even my nutritionist would know. Why doesn't anyone know? He sat there and looked at me puzzled, and he said, well, as far as I can tell, there just doesn't seem to be any incentive. I said, what does that mean, no incentive? He said, it just looks like there's no money to be made. What? There's no money? Do you mean to tell me I nearly lost my life because there's no money to be made? And he said, yep, that's what it looks like. I stood there in my tears and I said to him, if not me, then who? Who is going to do something about that? So we've spent the past many years in the trenches teaching free community classes throughout the world. No one has paid us to teach them. We are the founders of the GRM simply because we have met countless people who also want to help. People who also want to challenge the status quo because they, frankly, are also sick and tired of being sick and tired. They too want to believe someone is looking out for us. People just like you and me are banding together to help us flood communities throughout the world with an option for this education. That way, everyone can make decisions for their own health and wellness based on education, not marketing hype and the sometimes blatant marketing deception that permeates the wellness industry today. Click below and it will take you directly to the website, angiesoption.com, and go ahead and download the free Consumer Awareness Guide. It will be hugely helpful for you in deciphering what the difference between what's really natural and utilized by your body, or what's at the very least throwing your money away, or at the very most could actually be harming you. You can also see the option here to view our most popular class, A Wellness Journey, the one we've been discussing. In its entirety, you will learn much, much more of what can help protect you to keep your health good. Or if you find yourself already compromised, as I was, you'll learn how easy it is for your immune system to do the job it should be doing. Thanks for joining us for this webinar, and feel free to email us at the address below with whatever questions and or comments you may have, and we'll be happy to get back to you. Thanks so much.